The truth about China's copycat culture. It's not what you think. Imagine spending years laughing at your neighbor because they keep copying your homework, only to wake up one day and discover they're running the biggest company in town while you're asking them for advice. That sounds like the plot of a comedy movie, but that's surprisingly close to what has happened in the global technology race. For decades, China earned a reputation as the world's greatest copycat, famous for fake smartphones, imitation luxury brands and products that looked suspiciously familiar, sometimes with names that were only one letter away from the original. But here's the twist. Today, some of the world's biggest technology companies are quietly borrowing ideas from China. Chinese electric cars are unsettling century-old automakers, and innovations once dismissed as cheap imitations are shaping how billions of people live. So, did China suddenly become creative overnight? Or did the rest of the world misunderstand the story from the very beginning? Before we dive in, if you enjoy uncovering the hidden stories behind technology, geopolitics, engineering, and the strange ways our world really works, hit that subscribe button and join the randomly spectacular community. We've got plenty more reality is stranger than fiction documentaries coming your way. Chapter 1. Everyone thought China was copying. Back in the early 2000s, the phrase "made in China" often came with an unfair punchline. Markets around the world overflowed with imitation phones, fake designer bags, copied electronics, and products that looked almost identical to famous brands. If you searched online, you'd find entire photo galleries dedicated to hilariously obvious knockoffs that made people laugh. Looking back, some of those bizarre creations were unintentionally ahead of their time. To much of the world, the conclusion seemed obvious. China couldn't innovate, so it copied everyone else. That idea became so widespread that copycat practically became part of the country's global identity, repeated in documentaries, newspapers, business reports, and everyday conversations without much questioning. But hidden beneath those markets filled with imitation products was something very few outsiders noticed. While the world was busy laughing at the copies, thousands of engineers, entrepreneurs, and small manufacturers were quietly learning, experimenting, and improving at a pace almost nobody appreciated. And that strange underground culture had a name that would completely change the story. Chapter 2. The secret behind Shanzhai. That name was Shanzhai, a word often translated as copycat or knockoff. But in China, the idea carried a much deeper meaning than simply making fake products. For many small manufacturers, it represented freedom to experiment without waiting for permission from giant corporations. Instead of spending years designing a phone from scratch, a small team could take an existing design, understand how it worked, improve a few features, change the software, swap out components, and release a new version in weeks. Was it imitation? Absolutely. But it was also one of the fastest hands-on engineering classrooms the world had ever seen. This way of learning wasn't entirely unusual in Chinese history either. Traditional education placed enormous value on mastering existing knowledge before attempting something original. A calligraphy student copied the masters. A martial artist repeated the same movements thousands of times. The goal wasn't mindless duplication, it was understanding something so deeply that improvement became possible. None of this erased legitimate concerns about intellectual property, and many companies did face accusations of copying technology in ways that sparked major legal disputes. But focusing only on those controversies missed another reality unfolding at incredible speed. Because while everyone argued about whether China was copying too much, one city was quietly becoming the fastest hardware laboratory on Earth, and it would change the rules of innovation forever. Chapter 3. Shenzhen, the city that rewired innovation. If Silicon Valley became famous for writing software, then Shenzhen became famous for building almost anything you could imagine. What was once a quiet fishing town transformed into a manufacturing powerhouse where ideas could move from a sketch on a napkin to a working prototype in a matter of days. That wasn't magic. It was an ecosystem unlike anywhere else on Earth. Walk through Shenzhen's electronics markets, and you'll find entire buildings packed floor after floor with chips, screens, cameras, batteries, sensors, motors, and just about every electronic component imaginable. Need a different camera module? Walk 10 minutes. Need a faster processor? Someone upstairs probably has three options. It's a little like visiting a supermarket, except you're shopping for the ingredients to build the next smartphone. Now imagine you're an engineer in Silicon Valley who wants to test a new hardware idea. Meetings are scheduled, suppliers are contacted, parts are shipped across continents, and weeks disappear from the calendar. Meanwhile, an engineer in Shenzhen has already built version 1, discovered 2 problems, fixed them, and is arguing with their teammate about what version 3 should look like. Speed wasn't just an advantage, it became part of the culture. That relentless pace created something far more powerful than cheap manufacturing. It created an environment where thousands of companies could experiment simultaneously, each trying to make products just a little bit better than the competition. And when thousands of people chase tiny improvements every single day, something remarkable starts to happen. Chapter 4. The Gladiator Arena of Innovation. Imagine dropping 1,000 athletes into the same race, except the finish line keeps moving. Every morning, someone invents a slightly better shoe. Every afternoon, another competitor finds a faster route. And by evening, the entire race has changed again. That's surprisingly close to what China's technology industry began to resemble. Instead of one company dominating a product category for years, hundreds or even thousands of firms competed to improve the same basic idea. One company squeezed another hour out of a battery. Another reduced manufacturing costs by 5%. Someone else redesigned the cooling system, improved the camera, or made charging just a little faster. None of these changes sounded revolutionary on their own, but together they added up at astonishing speed. China's technology ecosystem developed a similar rhythm, where countless small improvements competed until only the best ideas remained. This relentless cycle didn't just produce better gadgets, it produced companies capable of competing on the world stage. Before long, businesses that had once been dismissed as imitators were introducing products that everyone else suddenly wanted to study. And then the unthinkable happened. The direction of copying began to reverse. Chapter 5. When the world started copying China. For years, the story always sounded the same. China copies the West. Then, almost without anyone noticing, the script flipped. Suddenly, some of the biggest technology companies on the planet were watching China very, very closely, and not just out of curiosity. Take short-form video. When TikTok exploded across the world, it didn't just become another social media app, it completely changed how people consumed content. Before long, Instagram launched Reels, YouTube introduced Shorts, and nearly every major platform redesigned itself around the same addictive vertical scrolling experience. The company that was once accused of copying had created the trend everyone else was rushing to follow. The same pattern appeared elsewhere. Long before many Western countries embraced the idea, hundreds of millions of Chinese consumers were paying for coffee, groceries, taxi rides, and even street food with a simple QR code. Apps like WeChat combined messaging, banking, shopping, food delivery, and countless other services into what became known as a super app. Today, companies around the world are still trying to recreate that level of convenience. Then there were drones. While much of the world was still treating drones as expensive gadgets for hobbyists, Chinese companies were quietly refining them into powerful tools used in filmmaking, agriculture, emergency response, and industrial inspections. It was becoming harder and harder to argue that China was simply following others. But this raises an even bigger question. What forced Chinese companies to evolve so quickly in the first place? Ironically, part of the answer came from obstacles that were meant to slow them down. Chapter 6. When pressure became fuel. Most people assume innovation happens when everything is going well. History often tells a different story. Some of humanity's biggest breakthroughs have come when people had no choice but to adapt, and China found itself in exactly that kind of situation. Trade restrictions, technology sanctions, and limits on access to advanced semiconductor technology created enormous challenges for Chinese companies. Instead of simply buying every piece of technology they needed, many businesses suddenly had to invest heavily in developing alternatives at home. It wasn't the easiest path, but it was the only one available. At the same time, competition inside China remained brutally intense. Companies weren't just fighting international rivals, They were battling hundreds of domestic competitors that could copy, improve, and release a better version within months, or sometimes even weeks. Standing still wasn't an option, because someone else was always trying to build something faster, cheaper, or smarter. It's a bit like learning to ride a bicycle, except every time you stop pedaling, someone steals the bike and rides past you waving. That constant pressure created an environment where survival depended on continuous improvement rather than protecting yesterday's success. And eventually, that relentless mindset helped China do something even more surprising. Not just catch up with the rest of the world, but leap over entire stages of technological development. Chapter 7. The leapfrog effect. Sometimes the fastest way to win a race isn't by running harder. It's by finding a shortcut that everyone else missed. That's exactly what happened in several areas of China's technological development. Instead of slowly following the same path taken by older industrialized nations, China often skipped entire stages and jumped straight to newer solutions. Take mobile payments. In many Western countries, people had already become comfortable with credit cards, so there wasn't much urgency to replace them. China, however, embraced smartphone payments on an enormous scale, allowing millions of people to go from cash to QR codes almost overnight. Today, buying lunch, paying a taxi, donating to charity, or even purchasing fruit from a roadside vendor can often be done with nothing more than a quick scan. The same leapfrogging happened with electric vehicles. While many traditional automakers were still debating when consumers might finally embrace EVs, Chinese companies were already racing to improve batteries, charging speeds, manufacturing efficiency, and affordability. Years of relentless iteration had transformed many former followers into serious global competitors, pushing the entire automotive industry to accelerate its own innovation. And it doesn't stop with transportation. China has become a major force in renewable energy manufacturing, advanced battery technology, high-speed rail, robotics, and artificial intelligence, not because every invention started there, but because ideas were continuously refined, improved, and scaled at extraordinary speed. Which brings us to the biggest misconception of all. Maybe we've been defining innovation the wrong way from the very beginning. Chapter 8. Conclusion. For generations, we've loved the story of the lone genius, the inventor who disappears into a garage, has a brilliant eureka moment, and changes the world overnight. It's an inspiring image, but reality is usually much messier. Most breakthroughs are built on thousands of earlier discoveries, countless improvements, and ideas borrowed from people who came before. That doesn't mean concerns about intellectual property disappear, nor does it excuse cases where companies have crossed legal or ethical lines. Those debates remain important and continue today, but they also shouldn't prevent us from recognizing another truth. Imitation and innovation aren't always opposites. Quite often, they're different chapters of the same story. Perhaps the real lesson isn't about China at all. It's about how civilizations learn. The countries, companies, and people who improve the fastest are often those willing to study existing ideas, adapt them, challenge them, and then build something even better. History shows that today's student can become tomorrow's teacher. So maybe the question was never whether China copied the world. Maybe the better question is this: what happens when the world's biggest classroom graduates? If you enjoyed uncovering the hidden side of one of the world's most misunderstood topics, let us know your thoughts in the comments. Has China's journey changed the way you think about innovation? Or do you see the story differently? If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to like the video, share it with someone who loves technology and geopolitics, subscribe to Randomly Spectacular, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another story where reality turns out to be far stranger than fiction. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.